Hi, good evening, and welcome to my Sunday's doHow chat. Uh, Today, for a change, I'm alone. None of the others have joined, so that doesn't matter. So let me talk about something which is been on my, what should I say, mind for quite some time, which is about the standards. I don't know whether it has really been something of inquisitiveness and interest to you to really talk about why do people follow standards and why do somebody do it willingly, and that's something which is very intriguing, which is very interesting when you look at the traffic, when you look at the way we walk on the road, or the way we are speaking, our behaviors in companies, whatever be it. uh, some do it in a way that is adhering to some set of rules, sometimes unwritten, and some others don't, and some others do it because they're being observed or they're being controlled, and some others even don't care that at all. So my talk for the day, or my sharing for today, is about the reason, whatever I understand, could be the ones why people follow or not follow standards. So let me share my screen. Today is the first time that I would be doing that for a change, so that I can show what my thoughts are on using a small pictorial which I have, which is quite a interesting part for sharing such ideas. So let me first share my screen. I need to share in the app first, and then share it here. Let me just do that. Give me a second. Share screen. There I go. Then I'm going to share the um, entire screen would be a better one. Entire screen. Then I say share. Now I am on to screen sharing. I think you can see my screen. Let me just go into the presentation mode, so that this particular slide becomes large and big. So let me now say that this is something which I have been thinking for quite some time, as to what is the reason why people follow or don't follow the standards. And here I've listed out 8 reasons. And let me start with one: mindset. I don't know whether the pictorial is visible that clearly or not. When I say mindset, the first thing that occurs to me is when we are doing an activity, as an individual, we are doing everything based on our mindset. And there is a video in my YouTube channel which you can check out on mindset, my understanding of mindset, which is basically driven by our past experiences. So this mindset which I have developed, which I have evolved, is it looking inward towards me, or is it looking outwards towards the others? That means whatever I do I do it for personal gratification, or do I do it for making sure that the other person who is the recipient of whatever I'm doing is pleased? That means my activity, what I do, is it for myself or is it for the others? Here it is very important. Those who are thinking that my activity, whatever I do, is for the others, they would normally follow the rules, follow the standards. Here in the pictorial in the center, you see one which is correct, which is with the tick mark, the other one which is a cross. One person crossing over on the zebra crossing, the other one crossing over somewhere in between in the road where it is close to the zebra crossing, but not really on the zebra crossing. You can ask always, why did he do that? Why did he not do it? The one who is crossing on the zebra crossing is making sure that he is not inconvenience the others on the road by an action, because he knows that the car drivers and the vehicle drivers know that people could be crossing on the zebra crossing. Therefore, he would come down, and they would come down and slow down and then go slowly. Of course, this is the case in most of the world, not in India, because here neither the vehicles nor the pedestrians have the habit of following the rules many a times. Therefore, it may not be the one which is applicable. In India also, in many cases, just before the zebra crossing, if you remember, and if you can imagine, they would have put road humps, so people do slow down. So it's not that bad. So crossing on a zebra crossing is always better than crossing somewhere in the center of the road. And this possibly is driven by the mindset which says I am trying to cross in such a way that I don't cause harm to the others. The next important aspect, which I believe is the reason why people follow standards or rules, is because of the purpose. See, if you don't have an aspirational purpose, there is no reason for to follow a standard or a rule, because typically standards and rules are done in such a way that we can get the best efficiency and effectiveness in whatever we are doing. When I say that, imagine that in the case of zebra crossing here, the crossing which you are doing is an efficient way of communicating to everybody that there is a risk of a pedestrian crossing there. Therefore, be careful for the vehicles who are traveling on the road. And by doing that, you are making sure that the person who is crossing the road, who took the decision to cross the road, has possibly a better longevity. That means he can live better, he can have no accidents, and would be less harmed if he's crossing on the zebra crossing. Which means a person who wants to say, I want to be safe, I want to be healthy, that's an aspiration. I want to stay healthy, I want to be safe, I want to make sure that I live for a longer number of years, serve the others. If that is the aspiration, something which is very, very strong, then he would always cross on the zebra crossing, irrespective of that. Now, coming to the traffic signals, let us say on a road, there is a speed limit of 60 kilometers an hour. I would follow that because I know that by doing that, it's a safe thing to do. Therefore, my aspiration is much, much higher. I want to live longer. I want to contribute to the society. I want to really be a healthy person. So the aspiration is again, which is what that leads to purpose. So purpose is again another thing, which is a key driver of following or not following the rules. The next one is the involvement. When I say involvement in this example, it may not be directly applicable, but to some extent it is, because our ancestors, our forefathers, were truly involved in defining what the rules would be to make a zebra crossing. So in some way or the other, our genes have been involved in creating the zebra crossing. If suppose a rule was done without involving anybody at all, somebody did the rule and they said, now you have to follow this rule. And that probability of that rule being followed is quite low. Because I don't see any picture at all. Therefore, in industries, when we do a rule, it is important to involve everybody who is supposed to be following that rule to create a rule. And there is also a very interesting thing. And the people who are involved in following the rule or a standard may not turn up at all because of various reasons. They may be busy, they've got other priorities. But that is why, because their purpose is a problem. There you need to work on the aspiration. Not really force them to come to the meeting or come to the discussion to define a rule. A rule could be as simple as defining how are we going to do material handling to avoid dents, damages, and scratches, for example. If the people are not interested in participating in the process of defining a standard on how you want to achieve zero defect, then obviously the aspiration is not there at all. Aspiration is not to achieve zero defect. The aspiration of everybody in the organization is a totally different one. So therefore, it's important that one works on the aspiration before creating the standard. So that's the next part, which is very, very important, involvement. And then I jump to the left side before I come to the right side. Culture is the other one, which is very, very critical. Left to me, I am sure it would be right to you possibly. Culture is something which is very important, because in a environment which is a blaming culture, that means I try to blame somebody for something which went wrong, the probability of people even trying to follow a standard or not follow a standard would be very less. They would be kind of neutral. They would neither do this nor do that. And when it is a critical thing, they would take the safer path where they would not get blamed. And that is something which is very important. A culture should be where one would not have a blaming culture, but one would be really looking at how can I really support somebody to follow a standard. And even if somebody is not following the standard, have patience, listen to them, find out what their perspective is. And that's the culture which is required. And when that perspective is heard, automatically it would drive the improvement of the standard or refinement of the standard or changing of the standard, so that people can follow. See, standard is what? It's something where everybody have understood this is what I'm going to do. If that understanding is uniformly followed, then everybody who is supposed to be working around that standard can always make sure that their way of their behavior and their actions would be tuned to that standard one, which will be done by everybody. Either they can do more or less. That's something which is individual. Therefore, the overall effort comes down, efficiency improves, effectiveness improves. Now, apart from the culture, the designing of the standard is equally critical. It should be something which is practicable. It should be something which is, what should I say, executable, implementable, and it should be something which can be verified. So there are multiple areas of a design which is very critical. It should be very easy to understand. You make a standard which is running into some kind of a tender document, terms and conditions, then it will never get implemented. It's important that it is something which is nice, neat, and then in a way that it is easy to understand. Then the next one which is important is the training. So once the standard is implemented, it's important that the ones who are supposed to be using it are trained. They understand what the motives are, what is the purpose of the standard, what would be the implications of the standard is not implemented, and so on, and how to implement the standard. How is very, very critical. And apart from the training, handholding is also equally necessary to make sure that somebody would follow the standards. If doing all this, that means mindset, purpose, involvement, culture, design, training, and handholding doesn't work, then control is again another very, very key important factor, which is a mandatory thing to make sure that the standards are followed. And here, I would imagine control should be something which is as minimum as possible, and randomness is very, very critical. And the next one, which I feel is important, is it should be something which is a surprise control. Should not be something which is planned. It should be an unplanned activity at random, and there should be the implications of the control should be very, very critical. And this is what one would call as audit. You can call it a system audit or a process audit or whatever in organizations, and a cop taking a photo of people crossing the line or crossing the yellow signal, the red signal in the traffic lights, etc., which doesn't happen 100%. You take a snap once in a while, and that's once in a while is good enough to get people to follow the standard. So these are my thoughts on how to get people to follow the standards, and why do people follow the standard and why they don't follow the standards. Why do they do it willingly? Why don't they do it willingly? With that, I would first of all end my screen sharing, and then I would go back to the Zoom, and then get into a small concluding session, and then close this today's chat. And I would request each one of you to write to me, ask me a question if you have got any. Then I would be more than happy to share my ideas and my thoughts on this. And in the meantime, get ready for next week's topic, which would be on how a standard should be. I would talk about a little more in depth in terms of what a standard is and how a standard should be. How could it be done? Because I feel if we are able to, you is a wrong, if we are able to understand and learn the art of creating and implementing standards, then we can create unimaginable time for all of us. It's like a fantastic tool for time management, because you will be able to delegate, you'll be able to hold people accountable, you will be able to get the same kind of a quality that you would do when you do the job. And so it would be a magical time for anyone with the objective of really creating and manufacturing time for themselves. If that is what it is, then do check out next Sunday at 6 o'clock. Thanks a lot, and see you then next Sunday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.